It's Sunday, November 13th, 2011. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report.
Some baseball news today. The Phillies signed Jonathan Papelbon to a deal that looks like it's a 5-year deal. You know, the deal a couple days ago came out for Ryan Madson that the Phillies didn't want to go 5 years, and all of a sudden they turn around and bam, and they're paying at least $50 million for their closer. Let's bring in the man who broke the story, CSN Phillies, Mr. Jim Salisbury, who covers the Phillies. So, Jimmy, well, what is the deal? And I guess not to change your heart, but why would they decide that this guy is worth that and not Madson?
Because I think, quite simply, they think this guy is better. At least that would be how I would interpret from their actions. Maybe it's his track record. Maybe it's his postseason record. You know, he's had a longer duration as a closer and very successful one. But, you know, there were reports out there that MLB was concerned about them setting a new market for relievers, and I think this kind of blows that theory out of the water and proves those reports false.
Well, what does it say about the Phillies, Jim? Now, for years they had that 3-year pitcher rule. And, you know, a closer, I guess they went, 4 for Lidge, but this is on top of that. And you're talking about a time with the, you know, the fiscal situation with the Phils. How does this interject with that?
Mike, it very simply says this about the Phils. They are an elite franchise that rubs elbows with the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox now. And maybe it's vice versa. You know, maybe those guys are rubbing elbows with the Phillies. They're a big market team, and they're acting like a big market team. They are a team that has gotten the taste of what October feels like after many, many years when baseball was dormant in this town, and they like what October baseball feels like. And when you get there, you need to keep getting there because there's big money to be made in October, big revenues for making the playoffs. And you need to keep getting back there to make those revenues to pump back into your payroll. So, you know, after covering this team for an awful long time when they were irrelevant, or it was irrelevant, it is really exciting to see them, you know, operate like this. I mean, you can question the wisdom of some of these long-term deals, these big deals. Ryan Howard, I'm not a guy who rushes to judgment. I think you need to play deals out, but I understand people look at a Ryan Howard deal and wonder about the wisdom of it, and this one. But you know what? After seeing them for years not do anything, this is pretty neat.
Oh, no, I got that. I'm on board with you. And I could care less how much they spent. But they did put in effect this luxury tax panic of last year where they didn't want to go over a certain threshold. And all you heard was, well, you know, we got all these guys to sign. We don't want to get too crazy. We want to go over a certain threshold. So how does this apply now with what they're doing?
Honestly, I look at the average annual value of this deal, $12.5 million. That's what Brad Lidge made last year. So, I mean, if you look at it like a slot system, they were paying, you know, the closer position. They were prepared to pay the closer position when they signed Lidge to that contract extension. They were prepared to pay that position $12.5 million in 2011. They ended up paying more because they used other guys there. But you know, now you're plugging that $12.5 million in with another closer, and that's what they're going to pay at that position. I still think luxury tax is something they don't want to mess with, but you know, I'm sure they're going to be very cognizant of it. But I don't think it messes them up that much in terms of 2012, and, because they have stuff coming off the books, and they're just plugging in what Brad.
Yeah, I mean, I got that, and I guess Philly fans were looking at that where they had to kind of reduce somewhere in order to sign others, and I guess they thought with Lidge's money off the board, that would give them some flexibility, but they've just kind of like equated with Lidge's salary. So now, when you get to the other guys, because you still have a couple other guys you have to sign, obviously the Rollins thing is big, the Hamels thing still weighs on them, so how does it affect those two things?
I am not ashamed to tell you I don't know. I just know that the pie is only so big, and they just took a piece out of the pie. It could affect both of those situations. I would think it would be maybe more likely if it's going to affect any of them, possibly the Jimmy situation. But I think they're smart enough to probably budget for Jimmy. I know they'd like to keep him to a 3-year deal, and I'm sure they have a number earmarked there. If they can't do it, they're going to plug the position with someone else. And I don't think there's any chance in hell they let Hamels get away. You have this world-class rotation, and a bunch of the guys have come from other organizations, and this is this great left-hander that you drafted and groomed and brought to the big leagues, and he's been a postseason MVP. I think they want to retain him, and I think they're smart enough to have a number in mind with how they want to proceed in that direction. So I don't think it's going to affect Hamels. I think they want to keep him. I really do.
All right, so your instincts, we're talking to Jim Salisbury, CSNPhilly.com. Jim, your instincts on Rollins say what?
I don't know, Mike. He's going to have to go out there and see if that 5-year deal is out there. He's going to play at 33 next year. I think he's turning 33 here pretty soon. And, he owes it to himself. He's a free agent. He owes it to himself to get the longest, best deal he can. And come back and shop it here. Maybe he ends up right back here if the Phillies find it a palatable deal. But like I said, this took a little piece out of the pie, and that could affect Jimmy. But I believe if they can still do him on his own on the terms they'd like to do, that he will be back. But I think they're probably comfortable moving on if they have to and plug in that position with someone who can catch the ball. And they think they can find people maybe in the system or even outside of the system that can do that. They didn't think they had that luxury at closer.
I wonder if it makes Jimmy maybe come back down to earth now that he knows the pie is shorter. But let me ask you about Papelbon. He's been a closer at a high level for a lot of years, and closers are sometimes power closers are almost like NFL running backs where they have a shelf life. Now he's thrown about 480 innings in his career, but they're all high stress, give it all you got innings. And it's appeared that he wilted it a little bit last year. So what are scouts saying about what kind of a closer he is right now?
Everything I hear, he's still an elite closer. He only blew one save in the 9th inning last year. But, of course, it resonates because it was in that final game of the season in Baltimore when the left fielder sat on the ball. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. But I still think he's got gas in the tank. Again, you got to let things play out. But I believe that his track record impressed the Phillies. I know something that impresses me is his work in October last year, notwithstanding 2010. But he's been there, he's done that, and if you read between the lines, everything Ruben said this fall, how he didn't want to hand the closer job to an unproven guy, and having a proven guy who could do it was very important. Finishing games behind this pitching staff. I'm not surprised he kind of went for a guy who's done it in October, because now October is it's really part of the schedule. You kind of assume they're going to get there, and they really have to get there. And I think they got a good closer. And I'm not saying Ryan Madson wouldn't have been a good signing as well, because I'm a Madson fan, and I still think in a lot of ways maybe the best is yet to come with that guy as a closer.
The freedom to explore allows you to embrace and conquer new challenges, an opportunity that Jonathan Papelbon was presented with on Friday when the Philadelphia Phillies tabbed him as their new closer, providing him with a clean slate and a fresh start after giving him a record deal for a closer that totaled 4 years and $50 million. The previous high-water mark for a closer had been B.J. Ryan in 2006 when he signed a 5-year deal worth $47 million with the Toronto Blue Jays, and Minnesota's Joe Nathan getting a similar deal in March of 2008 for 4 years. Papelbon, a starter in the minor leagues, has converted 88.3% of his save opportunities, coupled with a 23-19 record. His career ERA stands at 2.33, and he also recorded a career-high 41 saves in 2008 in 396 career appearances. He was also a major piece to the 2007 championship title run of the Boston Red Sox. It's not an overly exaggerated statement or revelation to say that the Philadelphia Phillies win with pitching. The proof is in their starting rotation, one of the strongest in all of baseball, and with the decision to sign Jonathan Papelbon, the Phillies have proven that they're in this thing for the long term, and they've become one of the most polarizing and successful franchises in all of baseball. The Phillies made a prudent decision to go with the veteran leadership of Papelbon, who has plenty of experience in big games during postseason play. And let's be honest, the expectations have been risen in the city of brotherly love, and winning in October is the only thing that the Philly faithful have come to expect. So signing Papelbon goes a long way to accomplishing that feat. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, report.